You're listening to Coffee and Sports from Wire to Wire Sports Network on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great on a very busy Thursday.
We got a lot of NFL stuff going on today, Mo, and the trend this morning is talking crap about people when they're no longer around. Let's start with the Chicago Bears. Keenan Allen was asked about working with Shane Waldron and things not working out with Shane Waldron. And he basically said that Shane is all right. It's just too nice of a guy, not really cut out to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL and to manage the different personalities and to deal with all of the nuances of being an offensive coordinator, which, you know, Mo, on the surface, it's too nice of a guy. It sounds not terrible until he gets into it a little more and you basically realize that he's basically saying that he shouldn't have this job ever again in the NFL because it's just not in his DNA to deal with NFL personalities, which not great. Not great. You know, I'm one of those people, Mo, where hang on a second here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. I'm one of those people where if you don't have nothing nice to say, just don't say anything at all. I'm very much a fan, Mo, of the cookie cutter answer. There's a cookie cutter answer for literally every situation, and when we are still living in the moment, and our words can still have an impact, and our words can still have a negative impact, unless you were wrong personally, in which case I still say take the higher road. But I get it, Mo. I get it. When people are wrong, they do ridiculous things. Maybe Keenan Allen feels wronged. Maybe he feels like he was promised a certain thing coming to Chicago, and he is not getting what he was promised. So maybe he does feel wronged. But for me, just give the cookie cutter answer and move on.
Yeah, I would prefer the cookie cutter answer in situations like this. You could say he could have stopped with Shane is all right. It just didn't work out here, and leave it at that, because that's what that is a factual statement. It didn't work out there, but to imply like he should never get another opportunity to ever manage any offense ever again, because that's the answer you gave. You just threw the man under the bus. You just said too much. I'd much rather go with things didn't work out. I wish Shane well. Go with that. That's the right answer.
And then we got the Sean Elliott of the Pittsburgh Steelers. This man was working overtime to get his comments in, Mo. He was asked about facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh no, is he a Steeler or is he a Raven now? He's one or the other. He either plays for the Steelers or the Ravens, and he was asked about facing the other. I think maybe he's a Steeler, and he was asked about facing the Ravens. And his response was that he's super excited. He's super excited to go out there and be able to face a team because he's finally a part of a defense that isn't soft AF.
Okay.
Like he was last year. So obviously, the reporter was like, oh, tell me more. If you're going to open that door, I was even going in that direction. I just was looking for a cookie cutter response about how you feel about your upcoming matchup. But since you opened the door, and he went there, he started talking about how, there's a couple of good players on the Dolphins defense. But overall, there's no mentality. There's no mentality of toughness over there. And he said something to the effect of once the injuries started piling up a little bit last season, just all the toughness went out the window, just really leaning in on it. So again, as a Dolphin fan, obviously I'm going to take a little personally. But I look at it, Mo, and I look at our setup for this one, because it's one thing if you are doing an interview and someone asks you the specific question, right? Sean Elliott, you were a member of the Dolphins last season. Your defense looked pretty good through 11 games. And then the last 7 games, the defense looked a little different. What was going on there? Well, you were asked a very specific question. So now you're trying to answer a very specific question. You were not asked that, Sean Elliott. You were asked not even about the Miami Dolphins. You were asked about your game this week. And I don't know what happened. I don't know who pissed you off. I don't know. Did someone stop texting you that you were friends with in Miami and now you're all salty about it? Because you took a question that you are literally given every week when people choose to talk about you. Because, by the way, I don't think you're interviewed all that much, Sean Elliott, because it's not like you're the best safety in the league. So you don't get asked these questions a lot. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe you were finally looking for a chance to be asked something and to express yourself. And this is where you finally found it. But you chose to open that door. And again, what if you ain't got nothing nice to say? Just don't say nothing at all. I don't know why we're calling out former teams when you weren't even asked about them, Mo.
I just think this era players just feel like they have to say something, give a hot take, and you don't have to. And to me, he sounds like he's in his feelings, like it's personal. And look, I get it. You forge relationships, and before you know it, you're traded or you're released. But you're being released or traded, that has nothing to do with anybody in the locker room. That's a situation between you and management. They've made a decision to go another way. If you're angry, be angry at the GM, be angry of the powers that be. But coming into the world that you're in professional sports, you can be traded or moved or that's just part of it. Look, it's the player that gets to play is there for one team. That's just professional sports. Give the cookie cutter answer, man. Like, you know what? I wish those guys well, but when we get on the field, we're competitors. Do something like that. Make it simple instead of getting into your feelings.
And answer the question you were asked. You were asked about your upcoming matchup.
Right. Even more important. You're not even playing them. Right. Even more important. Right. Focus on the task at hand. Right.
The Indianapolis Colts have gone back to Anthony Richardson. Apparently, according to people within Indianapolis, he has earned his spot back. Let's call it what it is, Mo. Joe Flacco didn't play well.
And it's that simple.
if Joe Flacco's not going to play well and you're not going to win games with Joe Flacco's not the future of the franchise. So there is no point to continue starting Joe Flacco if he's not going to give you wins. You can lose just as easily with Anthony Richardson while continuing to try to develop him, while continuing to try to see if you actually have something there that could be worth the future of your franchise, because you know you don't have that with Joe Flacco. You know he isn't going to be your long-term answer at quarterback. And even if you're 90% sure Anthony Richardson isn't going to be the answer, there is still some ground left to uncover with him where maybe he could be. Maybe something could change with Anthony Richardson. Maybe more could happen with Anthony Richardson. So they can spin it however they want. He had a couple of great weeks at practice. He's bonding with teammates. He really dealt with adversity well. They're going to spin it however they want to spin it. But Mo, we both know the answer is Flacco wasn't winning games. That's why Anthony Richardson's the starter again.
And it's the only reason why he's the starter again. If Joe Flacco was able to replicate what he did last season for the Cleveland Browns, Anthony Richardson would be relegated to the bench for the rest of this season. But the fact that Joe Flacco has struggled the way he has, to your point, partner, if we're going to struggle and we're going to lose, we might as well go with the young guy who, even as raw as he is, there's an upside to him, right? We can still try to coach him up. We can still get more film on him. He can still develop. We might as well go that route if we're not going to win any football games, because we know that Joe Flacco is not part of our future.
Patrick Queen, former Baltimore Raven Patrick Queen, he was asked about facing his former team ahead of Sunday's rivalry game. And he said, and this is how you do these things, Mo, he said that he is very motivated heading into Sunday's game against the Baltimore Ravens because of how things ended with Baltimore in Baltimore. He said, quote, "I wasn't wanted back. They didn't want me there." Great. Fair enough. Now, obviously, you're not there, so there's probably some truth to that sentiment. Could it have been a pricing issue? Maybe. We don't know. But at the end of the day, he said how he felt. I feel like they didn't want me there. You're not there. Okay. I'm okay with that, Mo. That was a great response. Now you're playing them. Go make some plays and show them why they should have kept you, right?
100%. And he said what he had to say, and he didn't say anything that you could put up in the locker room, right? It wasn't that any kind of material or anything like that. I'm fine with his answer. It was an honest but plain to the point answer, versus some of these guys going over the top. And like you said, you get the opportunity on the field to show them why they should have tried to keep you, to show them why you should still be part of their team. Although I would look at it another way. You could just show your current teammates why you should still stay there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, you know what I mean? Like focus on those teammates instead of the guys that used to be your teammates.
Chalk it up in the news of, well, thank dear God, I would hope so. Reports out of Dallas are that it's seeming more and more unlikely that head coach Mike McCarthy is going to be back next season. Okay. We've heard this song and dance before, Mo. And when we talked about it last season, we said, okay, it's time. It makes sense, and it didn't happen. So I feel the same way. It's time. It's overdue. It makes sense. But we know that when it comes to Jerry Jones, it's never about necessarily what's right for the Dallas Cowboys. It's more about what is right for Jerry Jones. And replacing Mike McCarthy means you're replacing a yes man. It means you're replacing someone that basically just falls in line with what you want and what you say. And you got to go find another one of those, because that's what Jerry does. He doesn't put people around him that are going to have friction with him. He doesn't put people around him that are going to defy what he says or what he wants to have happen, or potentially make him look bad in the media, while he makes his quarterback and his offensive coordinator and his head coach and his other players look bad constantly in the media by saying whatever the hell he wants to say, whenever the hell he wants to say it. So, okay, great. Mike McCarthy's out of Dallas. I hope it's true because I think they need a new head coach, but I don't put anything past Jerry Jones because Jerry Jones makes decisions based on what benefits him first, and then hopefully he can align that to also what benefits the Cowboys. But Mo, we shall see.
We shall see. And I'm with you. You can say that he might not be back, but is Jerry Jones going to go out and really pursue a strong-minded head coach? Is he really going to have a sit down with Bill Belichick? Because everybody thinks that's the move, but that's only the move if Jerry Jones can tolerate the fact that he's going to have to cede some power to Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's not going to sign his name to any contract without having a certain amount of power and having Jerry Jones be more distant from the locker room. So I think Bill Belichick is a sexy pick, but I don't think that's automatic. You're talking about two huge egos who are used to being in complete control. I think Jerry Jones likes yes men. He's comfortable with he would rather have yes men and not win Super Bowls than have guys with bigger personalities that would get the credit and win Super Bowls. That's what I believe. And so while Mike McCarthy might be gone, I don't think it's a lock.
Also, in surprising news yesterday, Mo, Aaron Rodgers, who is a fixture on the Pat McAfee show, not surprising. Pat McAfee asked Aaron Rodgers, what's next year look like? You coming back? You going to play some more? Because remember, it wasn't that long ago that Aaron said he thought he had 2, 3, 4 years left in the tank. And we were all like, really? Okay. Interesting. He hasn't really wavered, Mo. He told Pat, yeah, I see myself playing next year. And Pat even referenced, 2, 3, 4 years. Has anything changed? And Aaron said, not really. So it looks like we got Aaron wanting to play football next year. It looks like we got Aaron wanting to play football for the next couple of years. The Jets do have, I believe, a $25 or $35 million option in the contract where they could bring Aaron back for a third year in New York. If they do so, I believe it's a $25 million option. I believe his current year or his current salary is a base salary of $2.5 million. So if they chose to bring him back, his cap hit would be very manageable next season. So they would have the flexibility to improve the team. Also, and this is so weird that we're about to have this conversation, but the owner of the New York Jets, he's not going anywhere as far as being the owner. As I lose my headphones, he's not going anywhere as far as being the owner of the New York Jets goes, but he could have some roles and responsibilities in our government, Mo. It looks like he might he might get a new task in the next coming weeks underneath the Trump administration, which means that his attention would not necessarily be on the New York Jets. And I only bring this up because that's important, because a lot of people who look at some of the shortcomings of the Jets over the last handful of years, they look at Woody Johnson being one of the reasons behind that, because he is very hands-on with what happens with the New York Jets. If he ends up taking on this, what they expect to be, role within the Trump administration, he will not have the same amount of time and energy to devote to the New York Jets. And they've already said that there is a temporary succession plan in place to address that, should that happen, Mo. So that could be another thing that benefits, weirdly enough, the New York Jets, is that Woody's fingerprints are kind of off the team for a little bit, and it allows a new way of thinking and some new ideals to come in there, with Aaron being there, with potentially a good draft pick, with potentially some cap space. Now, I know we've kind of seen this story before with the New York Jets because they kind of just had all this and it didn't really go well. But I guess we'll see. I guess Aaron might be a New York Jet next year, Mo.
Yeah, look, I think they'll bring him back if they don't have an upgrade, right? I mean, that's that you have to have a plan in place where we don't bring Aaron Rodgers back because they're built to win now. Like they have a lot of pieces in place. So I have to assume that if he's healthy, yeah, they'll run it back because where's the improvement or the upgrade? Even if you were to draft the QB, the likelihood that guy could step right in and be a starter and play right away are slim to none. So yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers will be back in New York for year 3. I will say this: year 3, probably at a minimum, it won't be worse than year 2. You know what I mean? Because this has not been good at all. And I do think the Jets have some flexibility to where they can add more talent on both sides of the football. I don't know if the question though with the Jets is all the talent you can add around Aaron. The question might be just what version of Aaron do you have now? Because we always talk about guys that are overcomers. He used to be one of those. I don't think he is anymore.
And to the credit of Aaron Rodgers, unprompted on the Pat McAfee show this week, he did say, "I'm not playing as well as I thought I was going to." Now he didn't get much further into that, but props to Aaron for acknowledging, because he doesn't do this a lot, Mo. He doesn't take accountability and blame a lot of the time. So props to Aaron Rodgers for acknowledging that his level of play hasn't been where it probably should have been, or we thought it was going to be this season. Because again, he doesn't always do that. He doesn't always take accountability. A lot of it is always, well, red line. This guy didn't go to the red line. The offense, they gotta know all the excuses. But unprompted, he said, I haven't played as well as I thought I was going to play. Okay, fair enough, Aaron. Before we get to our picks this week, Mo, I saved the best for the last. Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin was asked about playing against former wide receiver Deontay Johnson because Johnson did not leave Pittsburgh on a high note. So they asked Deontay about it. He gave a couple of quotes. So, of course, they're going to ask Mike Tomlin about it because it seems pretty evident they didn't get along. And Mike Tomlin said, quote, "They've got more significant pieces with larger roles that occupy my attention." There it is.
And while it might sound like a shot, it's also the truth.
Correct.
So, you know what I mean? Like it's a shot, and yet it's a factual statement.
Because let's be honest, Mo, and this is no offense to Mr. Johnson, but no one is game planning or scheming to prevent him from taking over the game. That's not the way that works. You're not that guy, Deontay Johnson.
No, not on that particular team. Not when you've got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Yeah, I think we know who they're going to be focusing on this week.
All right, Mo, let's get into our picks. We got football happening tonight. It's a pretty big one. It's a pretty big one. It is the Washington Commanders, who are 7-3. They are taking on the 7-2 Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been playing much better football as of late. The offense for the Philadelphia Eagles is getting healthier. A.J. Brown is obviously back and doing A.J. Brown things once again. The defense of the Eagles has also been playing better, although you can look at their recent opponents and say that's the reason why they've been playing better. But Mo, sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you need a couple of games on your schedule against lesser talent to figure things out on the defensive side, to kind of get back to basics and kind of straighten things out. Because let's be honest, we have seen supposed good defenses still not play well against bad teams. So just because you are playing a lesser team on offense, if you have issues on defense, it doesn't mean your issues are just going to automatically get fixed.
Right.
So this is the NFL. Just because they're a bad offense doesn't mean that they just lay down. So the Eagles have addressed some of the issues on the defensive side of the football. They have gotten better the last few weeks. with some of the things that were plaguing them early in the season. Let's not just pretend that it's just a result of the level of talent they're playing on the other side of the football. That being said, Mo, I don't know why, but I like Washington here. I like Washington. I think a lot of this is the Nick Sirianni factor for me. I don't think Washington wins this division. I think Philly wins the division when it's all said and done. I think this is one of those things where the Commanders win the battle, but the Eagles win the war. So I think Washington takes the game. I think it's a close game. I think the Eagles have a better rest of the season. I think the Eagles end up winning the division over Washington. But just for tonight, I think Washington comes out on top.
I think if Philly keeps it simple, hands the ball to Saquon, rely on that offensive line, they're going to win the football game. If they try to get too cute, I can see where Washington would have an opportunity because I do, like I said, I like Jalen Daniels. He does not play like a rookie. Flat out doesn't play like a rookie. You can make a case that he's playing as well as Jalen Hurts is in year one. And that's impressive. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Eagles find a way to pull it out. It's a big game for both teams, but at the end of the day, when you've got that running game, that particular running back, you keep it simple.
The Kansas City Chiefs are heading up to the Buffalo Bills. The undefeated Kansas City Chiefs are heading up to the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, it was scary last week in Denver. If you are a Chiefs fan, yes, the Kansas City Chiefs should have lost the game in Denver last week. No, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the officiating, what was missed, what wasn't missed, because it happens every week. Denver Bronco fans, stop crying. I don't care that Taylor Swift met with the female official before the game and took selfies with her. I don't give a crap. I don't care that there were 5 egregious calls in that game that should have went Denver's way, that would have taken a touchdown. I don't care. You know what I do care about? I care that your kicker missed 2 field goals. One much earlier in the game that would have changed the way the game was played. I care that your kicker had a kick blocked at the end of the game. But Chris, if it wasn't for those calls, that kicker never would have been in that. Oh, the kicker never would have been in the position to win the damn game. The position that every NFL kicker wants to be in, the position that you want to be in as a team. At the end of the game, with seconds to go, all you have to do is execute and you win. That is what every NFL coach wants. They want the control. They want to be able to dictate who wins and who loses the game. Mo, I'll tell you right now, and I don't know the young lady's name, but the female official that met with Taylor Swift earlier before the game started, she wasn't the one jumping up and spiking down the football and blocking the field goal at the end of the game. That was the Kansas City Chiefs special teams unit. If you make the kick, you win the game. If you make the earlier kick, who knows what happens? You might be in position to win the game. Calls are calls. There is always going to be a human element to it. And yes, were some of the calls, in my opinion, not called, or yes, they should have. But let's not look any further than Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals and triple face mask with pass interference and holding all in a matter of 8 seconds, and nothing was called. Sometimes it just don't go your way. So you got to do what you got to do. And in this particular situation, all you had to do was make a 30-yard chip shot field goal to knock off the champs, and you didn't. And Mo, if they line up for that kick 99 out of 100 times, that kicker is going to make that field goal. This was the one time in the one moment that he didn't. And you know what? It was a really big one time, and it was a really big one moment. And it's unfortunate that you didn't do it, but winners win football games, Mo, and losers find ways to lose. And that might sound harsh, but when you want to beat the champs, winners find a way. And the Broncos had it right there in front of them at the end of the game, and they didn't win. So Kansas City, props to you. Winners find a way to win. And now you go to Buffalo. And let's be honest, Mo, they better show up with a better performance in Buffalo than they did last week against Denver, because Josh Allen's up for this game. You don't think those boys in Buffalo aren't sitting there saying, all right, they are undefeated. We got 2 losses. They got to end with 2 losses for us to be the number 1 seed. This is our chance. We got to beat them. Then we got to take care of business and hope they lose one more game this season. Maybe to the Steelers, maybe to the Chargers, maybe to the Texans. Those are the games that Buffalo's circling. But Buffalo knows what they got to do to get the number 1 seed. You don't think Buffalo wants the number 1 seed and they don't want the playoffs coming through Buffalo this season? Of course they do. Buffalo is going to give you a playoff effort for this game, because if you're the Buffalo Bills, this is a playoff game for you. This is your only chance to get the number 1 seed. If you lose this game, you will not be the number 1 seed this season. So I fully believe, Mo, we are going to see a playoff environment in Buffalo this week, because this is it. This is your chance for the number 1 seed. You got to make it happen. You got to walk out with a win. Otherwise, you're not getting the number 1 seed. Question is, can Kansas City match the energy? I always take Patrick Mahomes until I'm told not to. He's faced every situation this season where he should have lost. He had every reason to lose. It literally looked like he was seconds away from losing, and he hasn't lost. So, Mo, I keep it simple. I do think you're going to see a great effort out of the Bills. I do think you're going to see a great effort out of Josh Allen. But until Patrick Mahomes loses a damn football game, I'm going to roll with Patrick Mahomes.
And you just said it all. I think the Bills are up. I think they know that if they win this game, it gives themselves an opportunity to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. But I look at it the other way around. You think Kansas City doesn't know that? You think they don't want to win this football game to let Buffalo know you're not going to be the number 1 seed, and the road through the Super Bowl is going to be in Kansas City. You're going to have to come to the champ's house. I think Josh Allen is going to be up for it. I'll go as far as say Buffalo jumps out early, and yet if it's a close game, I'm gonna go with the champs. I just think somehow, some way it's not always pretty, but the Kansas City Chiefs know how to win football games, and if they need to score, if it's going to be more of a shootout, they'll find a way to generate offense. If it's going to be a dogfight, a 13-10 kind of thing, they'll play that way and win that way too. I think the Bills will be up for it. I think they're going to play one of their best games of the season, and I'm still going with the champs.
The Cleveland Browns head to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints only have, well, to be fair, they both only have 7 losses. So by Chris math, one of them is going to keep their playoff hopes alive after this game, and one of them is going to be eliminated from the playoffs after this game.
That's funny.
I'm going to go with the Saints. I just think that the Saints are in a better position. It's at home, so I'll give a little love to the Saints there. The Saints actually have their starting quarterback, whereas the Cleveland Browns do not. So I think it's going to be ugly. I don't think it's going to be a great performance by either side. They both have good running backs, but I'm going to go Saints to keep their slim playoff hopes alive at 4-7, and the Browns are going to pick up that 8th loss, and we can start talking draft for the Cleveland Browns.
I'm not so sure they don't want to pick up that 8th loss
because they got to replace Deshaun.
They do, and Jameis says, "Well, yes, I believe Derek Carr is better than Jameis Winston. I'll give him that, and I expect the Saints to win the football game. I don't think it's going to be a particularly entertaining game, but I think the Saints will win. Bottom line, the Browns, I think they're planning for their next semi-rebuild. The future in Cleveland is up in the air, and like you said, New Orleans is going to find a way to avoid that magic number.
The 4-6 Colts head to the 3-7 Jets. Again, by Chris's playoff math, this is an eliminator game for the Jets. I think the Jets win this week. I don't see the New York Jets And I know their defense has gone from top 5 to outside the top 10 since Robert Saleh has left. Listen, I know all of it. I see all of it. The Jets are not going to lose to Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts. I'm sorry. And this is gonna sound like a big swipe at Anthony Richardson, but no. That defense is too good. The defense is too good. I'm not saying the offense is going to score 20 points. They may not. This could be a 14-10 game. But there's no way. There's no way he is going to beat the New York Jets defense because he's just not good enough. Not this defense. Not a motivated. You don't think the New York Jets defense is sitting here licking their chops saying, oh, we're going to play today. We are going to play today. I get it. They have Jonathan Taylor. The Jets' run defense has been leaky at times. But I think there's going to be 3 or 4 moments where Anthony Richardson is going to have to deliver. And I think he's going to feel the pressure of the world on his shoulders just getting this starting job back. And I think the Jets are going to force turnovers. But Chris, look what happened against Kyler last week. Guys, I know they both run around, but Anthony Richardson is not half the quarterback Kyler Murray is. And if you are going to say that just because they are both athletic quarterbacks that can run and have mobility, then you don't watch football. Because one of the reasons that Kyler Murray is as dangerous as he is because when he starts to move around, there is still a legitimate threat that he will throw an absolute dime 30 or 40 yards down the field and cut you up while he is moving to his left or his right or while he is juking you out. When Anthony Richardson takes off with the football, he is a running back. There is no threat that he is going to do anything else in that moment but run the football. And the few times he has tried to do other things besides run the football, it has been a turnover. So when he starts running, you want him to try to do other things with the football because he's probably going to give it to you at that point. So no, they are not the same quarterback. They should not be treated the same. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I do think the Jets are going to win.
I think the Jets are going to win. I think the defense is going to turn Richardson over a couple of times. And look, if Jonathan Taylor has a big game, it will keep the Colts in the game. But ultimately, Anthony Richardson is going to have to throw the football. There's going to be some turnovers. The Jets win.
The 2-8 Jaguars, they're already out of the playoffs. Head down to the 8-1 Texans. We're going to see a buttoned-up version of not Texans, Lions. We're going to see a buttoned-up version of Detroit football this week. You don't think after 5 turnovers, Dan Campbell didn't put it to him in practice? You are going to see a buttoned-up version of Lions football. It may not be a version of football that takes a lot of risks. It may not be a version of football that's throwing the ball all over the yard. It's going to be a workman's-like effort. I think they win this game 24-7, 24-10. I don't think Jacksonville is ever truly in this football game, maybe past the end of the first quarter. I'm not expecting a 30-plus performance from the Lions. I think they're going to run the football. I think they're going to dominate time of possession. I think they are going to take what the defense gives them. And I think those are the kind of stats and plays you're going to see because that's what needs to happen after your quarterback turns the ball over 5 times. You need to get the needle back towards the middle. And I think we're going to see a reset game right here against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which means the Lions will indeed be 9-1, Mo.
I think you hit it on the head, partner. You're going to see a workman-like effort by the Lions. I think they rely on the run game this week. Jared Goff will be efficient. He might not throw for huge numbers, but he'll be efficient. They'll score. They'll make turnovers on defense. I think this is just going to be a straightforward, we're the better team. We're not going to turn the football over. They win this going away.
I apologize in advance to Raiders fans. You have 7 losses. You are about to pick up your 8th loss, so you are going to be eliminated from playoff contention. The Raiders head to Miami. Miami, check 1. They beat the Rams. Now they got to take care of business at home. This week it is the Raiders. Next week it is the Patriots. Gardner Minshew is once again the starting quarterback for the Raiders. Desmond Ridder did get the nod before the bye, but they are going back to Gardner Minshew. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. If you have three quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. The Raiders don't have a starting quarterback. That is their issue. Does Gardner give them the best chance to win between Desmond and Aiden O'Connell? I guess. I think most people give you a better chance than Desmond Ridder, just based on what he has shown he can and cannot do in the NFL. But I do think Gardner is the best of the three. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference here because, again, you're looking at a Miami Dolphins team where the offense is clicking. Tua is playing a lot better. Tua's numbers on third down against, and I know the Rams are a young defense, but they are a young, aggressive defense. And that has always been the knock against Tua, right? Like, he's fine when things are on time, but what happens when he's blitzed? What happens when he has to extend plays? What happens when you get him off his mark? What happens when you put him into third down situations and make him uncomfortable? Well, last week he went 9 for 12 for 140 yards with no turnovers when you put him into third down position and you blitzed him and you came after him, you did a bunch of those things. And as a Dolphin fan, Mo, that's what you're looking for. You are looking for Tua to be able to do better in the off-schedule stuff. He's not going to ever be a Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes, and dear God, we don't want him to be. But can he step up in the pocket? Can he move around a little bit? Can he extend a play long enough and actually complete the pass, as opposed to, well, when he holds the ball for more than 3 seconds, he's, 2 for 11. But when he holds the ball for less than 2.5 seconds, he's 13 for 15. That's usually what it looks like. But since he has come back, he has done better at the off-schedule stuff. He has been better at extending plays. I also think the Dolphins just have better talent than the Raiders. So I'm going Miami.
I'm going with Miami as well. Like you said, I think the offense is rounding up around. You're going to see more from Tyreek, Waddle. I think OBJ is going to work the seams. I like the run game to be opened up more this week as well. Look, the bottom line is, top to bottom, Miami is a more talented team. And in a quarterback-driven league, they have by far the better quarterback. I expect the Dolphins to win.
We got the Packers heading to the Bears. I wish this was going to be a better game. I wish I had a lot of nice things to say about the Chicago Bears. I think it's going to be a disaster for the Bears on Sunday, Mo. I don't think this is going to be a competitive football game. I think the Packers are going to go into Chicago and absolutely beat the brakes off the Chicago Bears. I think it's going to be over well before halftime. I have no reason to have any faith in the Chicago Bears. They've been playing up and down as it is. And now you want to take a quarterback who I think has shown less in the past few weeks than he has shown more. And now you want to put a new offensive coordinator in there and you want to completely change or upheave what they have going on offensively. And then you're going to do it in a short week where you have to turn around and play the Green Bay Packers? No, this was not the week to do this. I think Green Bay is going to roll in Chicago this week.
I think Jordan Love is going to have a big game with that young receiving core. I think they're going to spread the Bears defense out and attack them vertically. And I think they're going to get after Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams, unfortunately, is going to be sacked again multiple times and take another beating. I think the Packers roll.
The 4-5 Rams head to the 3-7 Patriots. As disappointing as it was Monday night, if you are a Rams fan, the good news is a couple good pieces of news. One, you only have 5 losses, so you are nowhere near being knocked out of the playoff contention. So that's good for you. Number 2, you can get back to 500. All you gotta do is beat the Patriots, and I think they're gonna do that, Mo. I understand everything that I said about Miami last week. I still agree. The Rams are still they're not completely back from injury. The players are back. But the cohesiveness isn't quite there yet. They're still working on that. The offensive line at times is troubling for Matthew Stafford. That has not changed. Miami exposed that. And Matthew Stafford has 6 straight games with an interception. I believe that ties the longest streak of his career. I think he's going to extend it. I think he's going to have a 7th straight game. I do think the Patriots will turn him over. But I also think that they're going to win this football game. I think that they're going to run the ball early. They didn't do that against Miami. They fell out of the game early. They were down by 10 pretty quickly, so they were playing catch up for a lot of the game. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. I think they're going to try to establish the run early. They're going to open up the play action off of the run game. That's where I think you're going to see Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua really get involved in this offense. So I don't think they're going to blow the Patriots out because the Patriots have a good defense. But I think you're going to end up seeing a 21-14, 21-17 type victory here.
I actually agree with that call. I think the Rams will be able to move the football. I think if you can score 20 points on the Patriots, you're probably going to win. They just don't have a lot of firepower on the offensive side of the football. So I expect the Rams to find a way to win. They're on a mission to try to make the playoffs. And you're right. They'll probably get a pick from Stafford, but overall, Matthew Stafford will play well. He'll control the game. Rams win.
And this gets them back to 5-5, which is big in their division that they're playing in because the rest of those teams are just kind of hanging around each other right now. So the Rams know they can't lose too much ground in that division because everyone is right there for the picking at the moment. We got the Ravens and the Steelers, another big game this week. 7-3 Ravens, 7-2 Steelers, very similar to what's going on with the Commanders and the Eagles. This is a big one, Mo. This is going to go a long way in deciding who is going to win this division. Lamar Jackson, to say that he has been awful against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his career, that is not an understatement. He has been awful against the Pittsburgh Steelers in his career. He was even asked about it. He was asked about it this week, and he didn't have an answer. He was just like, I don't know. I honestly don't know why I don't play well against the Steelers. And sometimes, Mo, it's just one of those things. Sometimes it's just a bad matchup. And that happens in sports more often than people realize. You just have bad matchups. And no matter how good a team is or how bad a team is, when the matchup happens, it always tends to favor one team over the other. Happens in basketball a lot, happens in baseball a lot when it comes to pitching. This is just one of those things where Lamar and the Ravens don't match up against the Steelers. Now, normally, if you're talking the last couple of years, you look at this and say, yeah, but the Steelers have Kenny Pickett at quarterback, or the Steelers have Mason Rudolph at quarterback, and how am I going to sit here and go with them over Lamar? But now it's a little different. Now they got Russ at quarterback, and Russ is playing like Seattle Russ, and he's doing what he needs to do. I think the Steelers find a way to win. And I think we're kind of left a little more perplexed after the game as to why Lamar continues to struggle with Pittsburgh. But Mo, I will say this. This is another one of those things, and I'm not hating on Lamar Jackson, but you got to start breaking the mold at some point, don't you? You got to start finding ways to beat the biggest rival in your division. You got to start finding ways to win playoff games and not have your worst moments of the year happen during the playoffs consistently. Does it mean they're not going to make the playoffs if they lose to the Steelers? No. Does it mean they're not going to win the division if they lose to the Steelers? No. But when I look at Lamar Jackson, I start looking at things where I'm like, he needs to start overcoming his own personal hurdles. And for whatever reason, the Steelers are a personal hurdle. For whatever reason, playoff success is a personal hurdle for him. I would like him to win this game, Mo. I would really like Lamar Jackson to go out there and have a great game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just don't think he is.
I think this is going to be a really low-scoring game, maybe a 17-14 type game. But you know what? I'm going to give Lamar some grace. I think that he finds a way to do just enough victory. And I don't want to not mention this particular time around. There is the Derrick Henry factor. You can stop Derrick Henry 10 times in a row, and on the 11th carry, 80 yards gone. Yep. He's that guy. So I think Derrick Henry will play a big role, even if it's just the fear of Derrick Henry with play action will play a big role. I think the Ravens win a close game.
The 7-2 Vikings head to the 2-7 Titans. The Titans are about to be taken out of playoff contention. Sorry, Tennessee fans, you're about to get your 8th loss. Hopefully, it's a more buttoned up performance by Sam Darnold as opposed to what it was last week. But the Titans are not a good team. Minnesota is going to roll here.
I think the Vikings get back on track. I think they establish their run game a little bit more. They'll probably call some plays that are a little bit more Sam Darnold friendly. I think the Vikings find a way to win. And look, I think that the mission this week for Sam Darnold is to have a clean football game, no turnovers.
The 6-4 Falcons head to the 5-5 Broncos. If the Broncos ever needed to win a game during the 11th week of the NFL season or the 12th week of the NFL season, this is it. They have lost a couple of heartbreaking games against good teams. One was a blowout. One was a game they should have won. They are playing a team that is more towards their talent level now, although I still think that the Falcons are much more talented than the Broncos. But if you're Denver, you can't lose 3 in a row. You can't fall under 500 because then we start having the conversation of, see, they really weren't that good. They were 5-3 and everyone was saying, oh, Denver, but now they're 5-6. And see, that's really where they are. Denver needs this win. But at the same time, if you're the Falcons, you want to start taking advantage of what's happening in your division. You want to start kind of putting a stranglehold on your division and start walking away with it as opposed to dropping closer to 500 and falling back down to the competition in your own division. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going Atlanta.
I'm going Atlanta as well. I think this is a big game for the Falcons. And I think Kirk Cousins will play well. Bijan Robinson will be a factor. I expect the Falcons to win fairly comfortably. I think they'll win something like 24-17 or 24-10, something of that nature. But I'm going with the Falcons as well.
Mo, everything in my being says the 49ers are going to roll over the Seattle Seahawks.
Not mine.
But then I look at the history of these teams and where they currently stand. Seattle is 4-5. The Niners are 5-4. We are looking at a situation where at the end of this week, they could all be 5-5. The Seattle Seahawks, the Niners, the Rams, and then the Cardinals have a bye week, I believe. So they're 6-4 right now. So they get a bye, and you could be looking at a situation where everyone is just one game behind the Cardinals, sitting pretty. I want to say the Niners, but I'm going to go Seattle here. I think it's close. I think something fluky happens at the end of the game where you're like, I can't believe that happened. And I think Seattle pulls out a victory, and you're looking at, once again, a really tight division heading into next weekend.
It's going to be a tight game. Seattle and the Niners always have close physical games. I'm going to rely on the fact that C-Mac is back. He shook off the rust in week 1 being back. I think he'll be even better this week. He'll be more prominent in the offense. I think the Niners find a way to win a close game.
Then we have the Bengals and the Chargers, Sunday Night Football. Bengals only got 6 losses. They are riding the wire right now. As long as they don't get 8, they should be playoff bound. This is going to be a tough test for them. It's going to be in Los Angeles. I want to go Bengals here, but I think national stage, Jim Harbaugh is going to have the Chargers up for this game. And as much as I love, and I've rode the Bengals hard this season. I've picked the Bengals more often than not. But I think Harbaugh makes a stand right here. And I think you walk out of this game knowing that the Chargers are a playoff team and the Bengals may not be. And I think that's the feeling you're going to have leaving this game. I'm going to go Chargers, and it might be a 2-score victory here for the Chargers.
I think this is going to be a physical game. I like the way the Chargers play right now. Look, Jim Harbaugh, wherever he goes, the first thing he wants to do is establish the run, establish some kind of physical dominance over the other team. And I look at the Bengals, and you look at Burrow and what he's been able to do despite the lack of weapons, only him and Jamar Chase, it looks like, on that offense at times. I want to lean towards the Bengals, but I think that the Chargers, their style of play, it bodes well. I actually think the Bengals find a way to pull out a surprise victory. I think the Bengals win a close football game. The Chargers aren't what I would call a explosive offense. They just kind of wear you down with that run game, and pick and choose when they go through the air. But I'm gonna go with Joe Burrow and company. We talk about that magical number. I think they're aware of it, Chris. I think they're listening to you. I think they're gonna find a way to stay in play in terms of making the playoffs. I'm going Bengals.
All right, and we will pick the barn burner. That's going to be the Battle of Texas, the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. We'll save that for Monday's show. We can't give it all to you right now, guys. We got to save something for next week. But that's going to take us to a close on a Thursday. Mo, bring us to the end, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Hey, make sure you're back here same time, same place on Monday. We're going to break down all of the NFL results from the NFL weekend. We are going to preview Monday Night Football. We're going to check in on the NBA. Will the Cleveland Cavaliers still be undefeated, or will something have shaken up over there? All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network, and we'll